Okay, welcome everybody to today's MR meeting. We'll open up with public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to something that is not on today's agenda?
We do not have anybody in the public. If you are online and wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand. Not seeing any raised hands.
Okay, moving on to member recusals. I will be stepping out for the first item on the consent agenda. Does anyone else have any conflict with today's agenda?
I do.
All right. And you'll be stepping out for?
Yes, currently for items C1, 1, and 2.
Okay. With that said, we'll move on to the agenda status report.
We will be moving item number 3 to be heard first. If we do have an applicant online, that's all the agenda status report we will be having this morning.
Okay, thank you. Members, in your packet, you were given the meeting minutes for August 25th for consideration. Have you had time to review them? And if so, would you like to make any changes or amendments to those minutes?
Yeah. I had no changes.
Okay, with that said,
Can we come back to that in a minute as soon as I figure out how to get my computer to work?
On C1, it references the location at 3616 Orcutt Road in Old Town Orcutt. Is that for me, Old Town Orcutt?
no, that should be taken off.
I think that, but I guess that's in the agenda.
Which one? Which is that for C1 you said?
Yes. This is that in the minutes?
Well, it's listed on the consent calendar as
Yeah,
in Old Town Orchid.
but that's, I guess that's on the agenda rather than the minutes.
Okay,
I'll make those edits for the minutes, so.
all right, then with that said,
On item 2,
okay.
I just got that. Number 13, I don't know what that meant. Compliments and presentation style. Form vocabulary, well, that's okay. And number 14, I think what we wanted to say is study lines on the third floor rather than to see. And I don't know what number 28 means. It must reference to. It must reference to something.
Let's strike 28.
Was that the number, for item number 2?
Yes.
Can you repeat that into the mic? I heard that you didn't understand something on item 28, but I did not catch the first part. I think it's, if you could just make sure you talk into the mic. I'm home with the flu, so.
Well, I think, Shannon, the question was, what exactly number 28 meant. I think, Jim, I'd like to see that one stricken.
And then on the next one, number, what is that, the Orville office? I have a question mark on number 4. And number 7.
Can we
Yes.
scroll to the minutes on the screen so that I can see what you guys are saying too?
It's just a minute.
So with regards to item number 4, or comment number 4, can we just strike and feels more so?
Yes. I would agree with that, 'cause I think that was about Carmen.
Any other changes to the meeting minutes?
I just had a question on number 7. I'm not sure what we meant by that.
I think that might have been Robert's comment, I don't recall exactly.
Okay, then it's something.
Yeah. So,
That's all I had.
So then I'll ask for a motion to approve these meeting minutes as amended.
I'll make the motion.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Those meeting minutes are approved. Moving on to the NBAR members' informational briefing. Does anybody have any contact with supervisors, finance staff, applicants?
No, I haven't.
Continuing on to staff update.
Nothing for today. Thank you.
Okay, then moving on to the consent agenda. If one of you will take it. we'll go on.
What was the? This one. Okay. Sixteen PRE 09. Is the applicant on, is it? did
it's
the
on
applicant-
consent, so.
Yeah, I know, but did anybody show up for it? to
Did
say
they
whether-
submit a revised elevation?
Okay, so then. West elevation could relate better to the north elevation, consider unifying window shapes or restudying. West elevation feels overworked. And then- So,
Keep going, you know, it'll be on, there you go. The next one, I think. One, 2 down. Yeah, there it is. So that's the reworked west elevation.
okay, Jim,
Who knows if anyone there?
I think it's kind of fun and it sort of looks like a nod to a gas station. The thing that I don't think they did correctly was they changed the panels in the front. If you go up and you compare it to the last submittal. Yeah, no, up one more a little bit. That guy. They had narrower panels which fit better and look better. And they changed it to the panels on the back. We've been talking about matching them. And on the back, I really don't care that much, but the proportions of the panels look better before. If they can just simply stipulate that that the panels, if you could, do we have last submittal?
Yes, give me a minute.
What they did was they elongated them quite a bit, and then over between the two wood parts, they don't really fit anymore. There's that, and then Steve, what do you think about the end that they changed?
Well, I think they're gonna simplify it, work back to us, more stuff.
Well, they,
Aren't the panels stucco?
no, they're,
I believe it's a ceramic wood imitation.
Those big elongated panels running
Well, the
horizontally or?
light, the beige and,
they're pan, and they're not stucco.
Well, I thought they were.
you talking about the brown wood part?
No, the rectangular panels to the sides of it.
This is metal? No.
Can we see the,
I can't agree.
can we see the,
Or is it siding?
they call it concrete wood panel?
Yeah, that's,
Are they like the hardy panel?
yeah, probably.
Oh, okay.
That's the brown part though.
I thought that was the brown part. That's what I thought.
Yeah. But the other part is not hardy as far as I'm aware.
I think he talked about it being a panel material. There's a material,
So we ask what that material is. Can you tell us what the light tan, the light beige material is?
All the stuff right here is,
Yeah.
it's tactile. It's a concrete wall panel.
Oh, okay. Pre-engineered?
Prefabricated, pre-engineered, you just screw it onto a support system.
Similar, something like similar to a Kingspan type panel?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. So it's insulated?
It's actually, it sits outside of the wall
Oh,
on a grid support system.
oh, okay, I know.
It's about,
I know exactly.
stick.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, there was a couple other comments. Column in the middle of the west elevation could be removed.
That was.
that's the end.
Gone.
That's the next column down. I'm not sure it's-
So Jim, you were saying that the panels were less elongated
Yeah,
and taller?
Yeah, the comments before was that they were, in the front, they looked correct. But the back was a different panel, and I'd been talking about making them all the same.
Yeah.
The front looks okay, the back doesn't. So they make the front the same as the back instead of the back the same as the front. But I don't really care about it in the back so much. It's up against the property line.
Right.
The front one though needs to be changed back, I think, to the other portion.
Did he say that those were prefab?
Can we see the
They come in
original
standard sizes?
So this is the original submittal.
Yeah, see, that's,
Okay, well, hold on. There's the same number of panels in the front, Jim, in the middle between the two.
But the west is different. You drop down the next elevation. See, the west is significantly different.
Okay.
And I believe the comments were to simplify the west to more closely match the front of the building and the east side.
West elevation feels overworked with the material change and columns. Simply
And the faux
that
windows.
west elevate, simply, I guess it must have been simplify the west elevation.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see the new west elevation.
Those were the faux windows that were gonna be in there, if you recall. The windows are gone.
So they just put panels, so they scrunched down the amount of wood and brought those panels around the corner.
Yeah, but they also have, it's hard to see in this picture, but there's a third material that sits inside of that wood box out there.
Well, there's the canopy that overhangs it and the
It's
trim.
the darker gray material that sits in the very middle. I can't tell you what that is.
well, it's basically a fake garage roll-up door.
No, but are you talking about the little vertical lines, Steve?
Well, I'm talking about that
There's some little gray vertical lines.
rectangular area that's in the middle. I can't really tell you what delineated here, but if you look at on the upper screen, one off to the right, up on the small screen,
Uh-huh.
You can definitely see the color differentiation.
Is that just a fried riglet in between those pieces?
Well, I don't know what that dark gray material is. I can't read it. Maybe we need that.
What is the dark gray material, Michael?
Oh, this is reclaimed wood. It's the same as on the other sections, on the other elevation. So that's reclaimed wood, that's a metal panel, that's the concrete panels, and that's the steel.
Thank you.
I think that's fine. I mean,
I'm okay.
it shows I'm still stuck on the panel shape on the front elevation, which is the,
Now you're overthinking it.
Looks to me like a roll-up garage door.
But it won't in real life in wood.
the north elevation, I have problems with. I have problems with the grid layout. They had the grid layout better on the last submittal. If you go to the north elevation,
It'd be up one drawing.
I'm glad you know where we are.
yeah, up another one.
No, this is the right drawing. We got
That's-
it now so you can see the whole thing.
That's the back.
Yeah,
So we want
it's the right drawing.
Yeah. that. The panels are the wrong, they should be a different proportion. They should be the proportion of them they submitted last time. I think there were probably 5 on the right and 3 on the left that fit.
There was 3 in the middle of the 2 pieces, on the horizontal panels.
Right, but they were the same size.
They were smaller, they
That's
weren't
right.
quite as long.
They were the same size.
They were less rectilinear.
How come we can't have the old one up there and the new one down here?
This one was here, and with an extra one over there.
Am I asking too much? It's the same screen.
I know.
I can put the slide.
And I would be,
That's all right. Go back to the original one real quick. Please. Okay, so,
see the panels.
so they're more symmetric.
They
Oh, they're proportional.
they're proportional and they fit in their better shape.
Okay, Jim, so that, you want to make a motion that they use the original design
The previous panel layout in front, which is the north elevation.
and keep the new,
I'm with you, Jim.
Yeah.
That's-
somebody make the motion.
And we're good to go.
I'll make the motion, we approve this project, architecture with the following change, that the proportions of the north elevation panels be reconfigured to match the original submittal
Previous,
north elevation panels. The west elevation is okay.
yeah, the previous submittal.
Yeah.
Should say previous.
Previous submittal.
Second.
I'm good to go.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, can you get that in the notes?
So here's, you got
Shannon's name. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's a difficult word.
Jim's got his thumbprint right there.
Okay, so we're gonna go. We moved up item number 3 to number 1, right? All right, so getting back to the standard agenda. Item number 3 has been moved up to item number 1. We are 23-106, 520 Bell Street. If the applicant is available, go ahead and begin your presentation.
Yes, good morning, Gregory Law, project architect, back for preliminary final today. Kind of, you guys all know where this is, you've reviewed it, so if it's okay, I'm not gonna go over the site plan, I'll just focus on what we changed. So, what we did was just did additional detailing and renderings based on your concerns from the last meeting. So we got to focus on the area between Plenty on Bell and our building. There's like a 5-foot side yard, so we kind of have a fence design we proposed. And then also we studied the corner of the building as requested. So I have some additional renderings at the back of the set that we can go through. We've also, just for clarity, removed the sheets that show the easements that go to Waite Street. There still is an easement, but we're not using it as vehicular, it's basically pedestrian. Likely our owners will never use it. Maybe they'll take a can of trash out. Our use doesn't really create a lot of trash, so it's not like a restaurant or something like that. So they'll probably have like a 30-gallon can they'll wheel out once a week. Anyway, again, this is on Bell Street. Just down, it's right next to Plenty, and then down the street is the Buffalo Bread. So anyway, maybe we could just start kind of going through the set a little bit. We've been working with county planning and engineering on kind of working our drainage plans, which I don't think we're going to necessarily go into, but we're draining to the back of the property to underground storage. And then we're using our side yard as an overland escape. So we're actually using that for drainage. It kind of worked out for us when we moved the building over and narrowed it to use that to get the water out. Before we were kind of going a little bit more uphill, now we're going a little downhill. So that worked out. We've got this pedestrian walkway that's been designed. It's actually an easement on an adjacent lot. I did some renderings views that kind of show a little bit about what we think that will look like after it's built. And then if we get another building on the adjacent lot someday. You can see the trash enclosure in the back, which was required by planning. Our applicant would be happy to put the trash inside the building, but they wanted that, so we did that. That's just a pedestrian, there's no vehicle access to that. Next slide, or sheet. So this is just our site plan. So we don't really have any landscape, it's basically pavers. And we're using the pavers as a permeable surface. Anyway, I won't go into the details of exactly what we're doing with the drainage, but suffice to say, we're putting liners under all the pavers now, so any permeable water doesn't affect the foundations. That's kind of like a new thing. You guys are processing plans. County's asking for that on a lot of stuff. Got a courtyard in the front, entrance is primary in the front. All I have on this slide. Next slide is just our trash enclosure. Very attractive. Trash.
Did they stipulate the size of that trash enclosure?
No, it's one we've been using in Los Alamos. It's one of the smaller ones. So the waste management is fine with what we're doing because they're not going to access it with the vehicle. So, okay, floor plans. I don't know if you're really interested. So it's 1-story floor plan now. Elevations haven't changed from the last meeting. I've added some details and some renderings, as I said. So if we can go to those, maybe we can kind of address some of the comments that came up. And we have as I said, this project was approved previously as a 2-story building. So we have all the details that were developed for that design. We've got a color board here that was approved. So none of that's really changed that much. We still have all the same detailing of the building. It's just now a 1-story building.
Excuse me, Greg, did you consider lowering the scale of the project in general? I mean,
We did.
if it's 1 story now,
Yeah.
you got 20-foot volume in there.
There's 20 foot, but see, so one issue is it is a commercial building, so we want to screen the mechanical units on the roof. We want to screen that. We also wanted to kind of keep the design similar for the neighborhood. I mean, this was approved before, so we've literally had a rendering on the site for 5 years of what this building's going to look like. So we've scaled it down, but it still kind of looks like the original design. So we're using that as a screen for essentially all the, remember, probably going to end up with a whole bunch of, we can look at the roof. I don't think I included that. There's a lot of stuff on the roof, suffice it to say. So this does screen it, and maybe, yeah, could you lower it? But yeah, it's acting as a screen. So we kind of like the gable architecture and, you know, anyway. Okay, next slide. So we have been kind of developing the, some of the, awning structure on the front. See the little corner, little detail on the right upper corner. We changed it a little bit, it's a little bit bigger than it was in the previous approval. And I've got more details on the next slide on that. So this is showing, we were asked to look at the detailing of that canopy on the front. And so the detail on the right upper corner is a kind of elevation section of that. And then just next to it is the build out that we're gonna do, the transition at the corner where it goes from this press tin product. It's this product right here. So we're pre-aging at press tin. You can buy this stuff. It's pretty readily available. And we're kind of mimicking the 1800s buildings that had pressed tin facades. So the design concept was to develop half the building kind of like a little pressed tin building, and then the larger building is a Corten clad building. So that's the detail transition coming around the corner. I'll show you that in the rendering. And then also we did a detail of the fence. Now we have an issue because we have an existing fence. That will probably stay because it's the neighbor. And then we have the Leilandi cypress trees, which we're not, of course, it's on the neighbor's property. We're not touching those. And then we have a property line wall, which is going to be, at the highest, it's going to be 2 feet. And I think at the lowest, it's only a couple inches along the property line because we're, our grading, of course, has to be extended to the property line. And then there's a fence that we're putting on top of that cutoff wall, which I'll show you on the next slide. You want to move to the next slide, please? Okay, so here's some of the renderings I did. On the upper right corner, that's the facade where we're turning the corner. And I think the question came up, how are we doing the canopy? We're going to pull the canopy back a few inches from the corner, so it has a nice, clean, this is a change of material. And then the pressed tin facade will wrap around, I think approximately 2 feet, and then turn back into the building. So it'll be popped out the thickness of the wall. And the same thing with the cornice, we're just going to wrap that cornice around as well. So we've got a view kind of a little bit above on the upper rendering. The lower rendering is just from the street level. We try to include, some of the trees that are there, but there's a tree right there in a tree well. We pulled it out, or you wouldn't be able to see even see the detail. So we took some of the trees out in the rendering. On the left is just a view of the building straight on, looking straight on, and the lower left is a view of that pedestrian walkway. There's a lot of questions about that. And ultimately, we saw this as, for our project, that we would like to have a pedestrian walkway, because that allows us to have entrances into the building along the depth of the building. Otherwise, we wouldn't have anything. You would just go, and the design standards for Los Alamos say that. They want you to go property line along the street to 80 feet back, and then side property line to side property line. So there wouldn't be anything but a front facade. You wouldn't have any doors in the side of the building. So this allows us to, in our interpretation, to have a pedestrian walkway that can be used again for an adjacent building someday on the adjacent lot. We have again, this is that walkway is an easement on the adjacent lot. So when that ever gets built out, if it does get built out, it would also have that pedestrian access that they can use for entrances into smaller shops if we wanted to break the building up someday. Let's see next. I think that might be it. Is that the last slide?
Can we talk about this?
Oh, I wanted to show you this for a minute, if you don't mind. So the view on the upper left is the fence we're proposing. It's a Trex product. I know, I like cedar fences, but they just don't last. So we're using a Trex product fence, which is kind of like a board back post that would go right on top of that cutoff wall. Now their wall would probably be behind it, which is probably fine with them. And then we leave their trees in place. So you can kind of see the view on that lower view, Google view. You can see this height of their trees, that's, was taken in May, I think. That's the size of their trees, you can see this street tree there. It's pretty well screened. I think our building will pretty well screened, and there's a view on the top of the front of the building, you can kind of see the property line is.
Is the street tree deciduous or evergreen tree?
They're deciduous.
Deciduous.
Sorry.
Okay, are there any comments from the board?
Yeah, could you go back to the previous, rendering, that right there? I'm gonna ask questions that may sound dumb, but I'm gonna ask them anyway. The space between the building on the right, the building on the left is building that hasn't been proposed yet.
It may never be built, but it's, we're just showing what possibly could be.
I mean, the reason I'm asking is because the space between looks almost like it's a plaza dedicated space that would be, some space would be allocated from the building on the left and some space would be allocated from the building on the right to create a wider plaza.
Yeah.
So looking at approving this going forward and knowing even if something is never built, you never build anything there, if they sold that lot, is that going to be in any way approved without stating some way that that walkway through there is going to actually be that wide going forward with another owner?
Yes. So that's a recorded easement. It's
But on
recorded.
both sides.
Well, the recorded easement is actually on the neighboring parcel. So our applicant owns both parcels and always has owned both parcels. So the project concept was to develop a easement on the adjacent parcel for pedestrian access, but it also gives us a fire setback, so we can have windows on that side of the building as well.
Okay.
So it is permanent and it'll be built as part of this first phase. So when and if that ever gets sold or developed, that easement will be in place, the pedestrian paving's in place, the, tree wells are in place, the benches are in place.
Right.
And
Going to that one and that one. A lot of comment has been about the proportion and the height. And maybe it's just the effect of the illustration, the rendering, but I see straight through both buildings. And I don't see where the intended infrastructure, the equipment on the roof is supposed to be hidden if you can see all the way through the building on both sides.
yeah, you won't, I think that might be just the rendering.
Well,
But the roof is in a.
the only thing we can go by is renderings. And if that's, and I want to know what I'm going to see there.
You're gonna see the front of the building, that the roof is about 14 feet. The building is like, the highest point of the building is like 20-some feet. So the mechanical unit is gonna be completely obstructed by the facade.
Just seems to be a lot of height for rooftop equipment to me. That's just me. I mean, and, all respect, I mean, we go by what we see with renderings. That's the only thing we can go by. And with the renderings here, it clearly shows visibility through both sides all the way to the back. And you've been telling us that the additional height was preferable to the owner, so that you will be able to obscure equipment on the roof, and I'm just not seeing it. So just if you could explain it. And what's going up there that you need all this additional height, I don't get it.
Greg, do you have the building sections?
There are building sections, I think we just have a cross section. We have a 3D rendering and we can pull the 3D rendering up and scoot around, but I don't think you guys have the capability here to do that.
The roof mount equipment's on the, if you're looking at the upper picture on the right, it's concealed in that parapet behind that.
But there is a section, if you want to scroll up, I can show you. I don't know if we drew the mechanical.
No, we don't see the structure.
That's a cross section. So there's the mechanical.
Yeah.
So the mechanical unit, I believe, the top of the canopy would be kind of parallel to the top of the curb. So the front facade's maybe going up another 5 feet.
So in this, you show a 14-foot ceiling height,
Yeah,
and then that back parapet is 18 feet.
yeah.
So if we go back to the rendering, then it's the rendering.
Well, you go, I think there's dimensions on the elevations, if you want to look at the elevation.
The other side is about 24 feet high.
Yeah.
The
Now-
gable part is.
In that gable part, is the ceiling 20 feet high in there, or is it 14 feet?
It's not 20 feet, it's not that high now. It's just an architectural feature at this point.
Again, it looks like you can see straight through to it.
Yeah, you
It
can.
suggests it's an open volume, 24 feet high.
But you won't be able to stand at the street level and see through, and then there's the wind, I think, are you just referring to the windows that are up higher on the top?
Right.
But there's actual structure that you can't see through that. There's no, and you can't be that tall unless you get on a ladder to be able to see in the windows, if those windows.
Well, I can't explain it.
I'm just looking at the rendering right here, and it looks like an open space upstairs, which suggests to me that with that much height, I don't know, a suspicious mind, is it possible to someday put a second floor in there or a mezzanine?
It's too short now for a mezzanine.
With 24 feet.
Yeah, I mean, it's only, let's go to the elevations for a minute before we get carried away here.
It's your rendering that I'm referring to, not mine.
Well, I think the rendering, again, you're seeing reflected glass.
No, I'm seeing wood on the ceiling with time horizons on.
All right.
I'm not seeing, like a blank space there. If they, take windows or something. I'm trying to be argumentative. I mean, I'm seeing what I'm seeing here. And the rendering very clearly shows, I can almost see a railing in there. But you've got a pitched ceiling that is clearly visible in there. And that suggests to me that there is no, hidden mechanicals up there, but it's a 24-foot ceiling in that space.
Do you have a section through that?
I don't have a section through that front.
I don't see.
It's just rendering on the line.
It's all pitched inside, and this is.
Well,
I mean, you're not trying to make it.
honestly, I have to get it in the model. I mean, it could be reflection, it could be, you could be seeing through it if we didn't put the back on the.
And that's what it is.
I don't know what it would be a reflection of.
Well, I think if you look at the first floor, where the pedestrian is standing there, you see that the paving, the lines for the paving that are in front go all the way through. So it's not really a true rendering. It only has the exterior walls and glass. There's nothing, it's not a 3D model and then rendered. So it's kind of just the exterior walls shown through that program. And when they put in the clear glass, you still see the paver lines going through the clear glass.
I think honestly, we did put a back on that facade, you see through it. But there is a back on the facade, I can show you on the elevation.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a back on it. It's just the rendering itself.
Go to the elevation, it's more accurate representation.
Yeah, I think so.
And like on whatever page it is.
So you can see the parapet there, the dark portion parapet's about the same as the press 10 building height, and it's just the gable that goes
If
higher.
you go to A3, whatever that is, the elevation, you can see what the ceiling height is in that space. I think you're representing the truss or something inside, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I think what we're saying is it's gonna be,
So it
the
goes
entry,
through,
the gable and entry is
Go
the
down.
entry to the building, so
Zoom
yes,
in
it
on
will
that.
probably be open.
zoom in on that elevation, yeah, the next one down. Now, where's the ceiling height in it, Greg? It's through the middle of the upper window,
It's
right?
14 feet. So top of window, can't read it that well.
It's 25 at the top.
So,
So the ceiling height is only 14 feet in the entry part?
no, I think this, we're still, we modified this from a 2-story to 1-story, so that entry may be open all the way to the structure.
Well, see that dotted line that looks like a truss? Is that what your ceiling is, actually, your roof structure?
Yes, that's the roof structure.
So is that where the ceiling is in that first
the
page.
bottom of that.
So it's through the top of the upper window, through the middle of the upper window.
Right, so when you walk into this gable entry, and then you walk into the building.
And
the
so it's a-
building
it's a
is
fake
height is
window.
14 feet, because it's a commercial building, so we want to have it.
So the uppermost windows are fake windows. The ones down, second level, are gonna be real windows
Well, I
looking
mean-
into space, right?
If we get the detail it the way I want to, when you walk into this entry, you'll probably see the structure above, yeah, probably open ceiling.
Oh, okay.
In the entry, just that portion of it, and if you go to the side elevation, you can see how big, it's not very big.
But that would be the extent of what you could use as an upper floor. Would be the bottom of the truss.
Can you go to the side elevation, I might be able to, so if you zoom, go to the right a little bit. That's the extent of our, what could be turned into a second floor, but again, it would only be, if you put the ceiling in, if you put a floor in 14 feet, I don't know how tall that would be, I guess you could.
It's
squeeze-
14 plus 6 is the bottom of your trusses.
Yeah.
20 feet.
You can't put a floor.
No.
Plus you
So
have a foot of,
all
more
of
than a foot of floor structure.
all of the windows in the front, you can see, they're real glass, you're seeing into the space, right?
Yeah, so the back of this gable facade is just blank, there's just a solid wall. So. Yeah, but I
It's
just
gonna
want
be
to
a
point
real
out that the top of the shed roof that's in the back and the parapet, we think will be about the same height as the mechanical units, which are 3 or 4 feet tall.
Are you putting any windows, you can't put windows on the back side of this space, right? There's roof, right?
It's not fire resistant system. But,
It's gonna be a dramatic space.
yeah, what's the idea? It's like
It's gonna be all glass.
yeah, you walk into this really nice open entry and then you walk into this door.
I have some questions. Thanks for refining a lot of the details I asked for, but you need to fix your detail, what you did, and make it legible. Which one is that? On A2? 12. You duplicated a detail 12. A8.2?
Is that,
No, it's on sheet number, if you push in page 12, it's A 8.2,
It's down.
detail 12. I think it's a new there, and the upper right one. That one, below that one. You need to fix it so that it's legible.
Oh,
It's not, and there's a lot of stuff written over. I think the scale got changed when you put it in and everything went kerflooey. But, that was what I was asking about before, is what you're using on the end
that's what
panel.
happens when you lose all your experience draft.
Okay, you've got corrugated Corten on the end panels, right?
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have a roof and a front piece, but it's not really detailed. When you fix this one, you should also tell them what you wanna do on each one of the edges. Like, you're overlapping the roof.
Yeah.
Over the top, and that's not clear either, and they're not gonna figure this out, I don't think. And what you're gonna do on the corner in the front, as it wraps around, how you gonna handle that corner?
Just at this corner right here.
No, this guy, that we're looking at, this little shed thing, just so that it's wrapped right. Because, you know what I mean, so when you fix this, kind of address that, I would suggest.
Come on, the brake metal in the corners?
What you're gonna do, I don't know, you got the triangular piece along the side, and then you've got a little short piece along the front.
Right.
And what happens in the corner where they meet, don't know. And how they overlap, how far they overlap, because I don't know how far you can run Corten without it not being flexible. How much the overhangs are for the roof section on that piece.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Otherwise, they're just gonna guess at it.
yeah. So this is corrugated Corten.
It's really heavy, I know.
Yeah, that's the same thing I got here.
And you've also duplicated this drawing on the next page.
Yeah,
Just so that, point it out.
okay.
So the same comments go to the next.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Just a question, on this far right side, if you go back to the rendering again. Yeah, on the right side of that building, I assume that that's Corten as well.
The right side of the primary building is Court 10.
Okay, that is what faces the flooding.
Yes.
One of the things that we noticed in Los Alamos and some of the others is the look of an old Hollywood movie set
Yes.
where this is the front and then everything behind it is sort of fake.
Yes.
This is one of those opportunities where, and I'm just throwing this out, I'm not saying I happen to do it, I'm just saying it's an opportunity to create a discrete volume here by wrapping the front around the side, including wrapping the cornice around the side all the way to the back, which would have a double function. First of all, it would reflect some light and some warmth down into the play area later in the afternoon instead of it being so dark. And when you're driving going southeast on Bell Street, you wouldn't see what looks like another fake front. You would actually see something that looks like a whole building. And my guess is it might be less expensive than using the heavy corrugated Corten, which is pretty expensive. Just a thought. I mean, I think it might be attractive.
So you're thinking of
The same material you have in front of
the
you.
press 10.
Right.
We do look at right now, the cornice back.
Mhm.
That's a possibility. I don't know about changing all the press 10. That hasn't been discussed. And we, like I said, the upper windows are fake.
Mhm.
So we wouldn't really run those around the side.
They wouldn't look quite so big.
You think so? Okay.
The majority of your building is Corten, correct? The rest, almost all of it?
Yeah,
And the only part that's different is that front facade on the right side.
yeah. I think the original concept was to make it look like two small stores side by side.
Except by being Corten on the side of the other side of this building over here, it still looks almost like the same building when you're driving through town, the big front on it.
Yeah, well, the fake front was intentional.
Oh, I understand. I'm just saying it looks
It's like-
fake.
Yeah, can we do this? Can we just make it fake front? It's like, yeah, sure, why not?
But Greg, you're not even gonna see that side of Mo's Cypress Street, right?
I don't think so. You'll see
Yeah.
parts of it, you see, you
But it's
see
all
peaks of it.
dominant elevation.
Well, I mean, you could go down to I put the Google shots on purpose.
When you have that photograph that shows those trees, correct?
Yeah.
So you're barely, and you're not even showing the tree. Even the tree that's in the front that's removed for the rendering purpose, right?
We're adding a tree in this front corner, and then there's already one in front of plenty,
So that's gonna be pretty shrouded with landscaping overall.
quite a bit.
I think the Corten's gonna be kind of handsome with the trees in front. It's gonna be a backdrop to it, kind of nice. But I have a question about the fence. Did you detail it in your plans anywhere, what you plan on doing, other than just saying Trex fence?
Well, I put a detail in there on top of that cutoff wall, and then also an elevation photograph.
Okay, because the detail just shows like material in one face and your Trex wall had it in the middle, and it's not exactly the same, just as long as they get it, what you showed us, the
Yeah,
specimen.
yeah, we're showing up, I think I post every 6 feet and bolted on top of that cutoff wall, and then a Trex panel in between.
Any final comments before we turn it over to the public?
I have one. The trees in your pedestrian way, those are in pots, is that what you said?
Yes, for 10 pots.
Okay.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this topic? Not seeing anyone raise their hand or stand up. You said that the rendering, the original building is 2-story, and the rendering you have on site has been there for 5 years.
Yeah.
So you've been through CBAR for 4 years.
Yeah, well, we had
Approximately.
we had CBAR approval.
Right.
Final. And then we had building permits for the 2-story building. Ready to roll. But I kind of explained a little bit
Right.
last meeting about what happened. So,
And you're agendized for preliminary and final approval. With the process that you've gone through with CBAR, building permits, and then the modification with the location of the building and then the size, from what, 2-story to 1-story. It appears basically that you've done everything that you want to do. You've kept the character of the building the same that was originally approved. Basically, all you've done is you've shrunk it just a bit and then moved it over to accommodate your neighbors. With all that and the comments that we've gone through back and forth, I guess I'm looking for to complete this. So with that said, I'm gonna ask for a motion for final approval on this project.
I'll make the motion that we grant preliminary and final approval for this project.
Second. Okay, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 All opposed?
No,
All right, with,
Michael, sorry to interrupt. Just to confirm, so we have how many, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 members present and 2 are alternates. So I'm just wondering, should I record that vote as 5-0 or 4-1 when more than 5 people are voting?
well, I mean, alternates, I would think that you would do it as, and include the alternates in that, how they voted.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I just wasn't sure how to handle. Hasn't come up yet. Thank you.
Yes, I mean, they've been here for the entire discussion, so.
So that would be 6-1 then.
But
That would be,
I thought with the bylaw, like, I thought we could only record 5 votes on any given item, and then the votes from the alternates wouldn't count unless someone was absent. We
I
could
think that's-
confirm offline, but
I'm gonna change my vote. And
so,
But it's a good thing to know the bylaws, so
yeah,
better finish and see what she comes up with.
so let's discuss this offline.
okay, thank you.
Sometimes it's
very much.
important to know the
thank you
rules.
very much. Have a good morning.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, moving on to item number, what was BR 23000099, Semco's Properties LLC, Ortho Office.
Mr. Chair, I'll be stepping away.
And done for the day, Kevin?
Have a good weekend.
Okay, you too.
Is the applicant available?
Yes.
All right, go ahead and introduce yourself for the record and begin your presentation.
All right, thank you. Hello again, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'm the architect, Tim Parsons, and the agent for the project. Just a quick recap. This project consists of a new building and related site work at the intersection of Foxenwood Lane and Clark Avenue. It's a 6,200 square foot building, 4,500 of which is the orthodontist office and 1,700 of which is a small health and fitness studio. The exterior appearance has gone through a fairly extensive redesign to hopefully be more in alignment with the comments and direction from the last board meeting. The bulk of the changes did occur on the exteriors. So perhaps if we could maybe kind of scroll through the sheets and then maybe come back to the render for a little more detailed discussion. The next sheet should be the site plan, and not too many major changes here since our last hearing. We did add some landscaping to the front, better shown in the rendering, and there were some changes to the fence that also occurs in that rendering. The next sheet is the floor plan and roof plan, and again, no changes really occurred there. If you want to scroll through the next sheet. Thank you. And there's the plan and roof, and our next sheet is our exterior elevations. If you could scroll to that next sheet. Thank you. And once again here, all the facades were updated with all the additional detailing that we added in the render. Each of those four north, south, east, west orientations are expressed, as well as the corner is cut here, so we did add that additional corner rendering to the bottom left on your screen. The next sheet, if you could scroll to that, is the 3D views, and there we've kind of placed that architectural model right in the setting as it might appear from those camera shots. And then maybe if you want to go back up to the first sheet, and if you could kind of zoom in on the rendering, I can go over kind of some of the details that we changed from the last shot. This is the one just that we started out kind of a lot of materials, a lot of Western look, and some of the comments where it did feel a little like that movie set that I heard referred to earlier. So we took a pretty big change and went with very black and white and really simplified and reduced the number of materials. And this is sort of the third shot where I'm thinking we've kind of met somewhere where it needed to be. You can see that like the starkness that has been addressed with a more welcoming palette. Previous comments were that it was just kind of stark and black and white and not welcoming. So we really wanted to, kind of attack and change that mindset. We did have black doors and black windows with black trim, also pretty dark. That's been replaced now with a much lighter finish to hopefully make that whole entry look more welcoming, not only to this building, but to the whole Old Town Orcutt, because as you mentioned, this is the gateway to the district. Previously, we had some black, modern, up and down light fixtures. The up obviously wasn't good in terms of daylighting or night sky, I should say. But now we've got some gooseneck lamps that were added. We did change those from a black finish to more of a brass finish to be more consistent with the new color palette that we're seeing here. The large areas of horizontal siding, we had a lot of white siding there without much trim detailing. That's been replaced. We've gone with a vertical look now all the way with some additional panel details kind of occurring above that transom level, as well as the lighter awnings. Those were black before as well. The tenant space, we have that front porch kind of over there to the left for the tenant space. We've added that white railing along that porch and introduced it also now in front of the orthodontic office so that serves to tie that all together more and also hopefully add to that more walkable community feeling that we're trying to achieve with this. With that, I guess I'll turn it over for comments.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Can I ask? At the signage areas, what's the material? Are there vertical lines in that behind the sign? Is that, am I just seeing things?
No, you're correct. That is vertical, and it's a distressed wood is going to be the appearance. It's probably going to be a Nichiha type product. So wood fiber is in the material, but it should look like a distressed wood.
Board and bat kind of look, or just single surface?
Single surface,
Single plane, okay.
correct.
Anyone else?
I want to just say that a huge improvement. It looks really nice. There are a couple little things I could see, but it looks a huge improvement over the last time.
Oh, excellent.
I agree. It actually made me smile when I saw the It's a little teeny bit busy, but at least it makes you want to go in the building. And I particularly like the overhang that you did for the gym, particularly having been in that business myself in the past and knowing the people who leave the gym like to go outside and sit and cool off. That looks like a perfect place for it. I guess my question is, because of the enhanced landscaping in the front, weren't you having some sort of a meeting with Caltrans about what you could actually do in that space?
Yeah, there's continual conversation with Caltrans wanting to perhaps reduce that, I think the term is bulb out at that intersection. The thought is they might be putting in a left turn lane heading east on Clark. So that might reduce the amount of concrete that you see out there. They also want to consider having a bike lane that I think would take about another 5 feet from that as well. And so the net effect would be, yes, we're working with Caltrans, and what would happen is potentially a reduction in that hardscape.
So what we're looking at here with the landscaping, with the stairway that goes up and the fencing around on the left side and the right side, that's not likely to change because of Caltrans, or is it possible that may have to be changed?
Correct, not likely to change. There's quite a bit of distance here before we actually get to the curb. So we definitely have concrete that we can lose lots of it before we would even get close to that area.
And thank you for changing those light fixtures. It makes a difference. I think it looks great.
Okay, some comments. It looks a lot better. Some of these comments are going to be for later, I suppose. Like, if you look at the left side of the building on elevation, not this, but if you go to the elevation page, the south elevation. You need to have a substantial post and beam size. I don't know how big they are, but they need to be substantial. You will want to see them detailed, the posts, the braces, and the beam connections, how that works. I'd suggest that you run the shed roof a little bit past the edge of the building, because otherwise you're not going to be able to detail it cleanly. I'd also ask you to extend maybe the shed roof out towards us, a little more overhang on it, so that it gives a little bit more shade and more relief.
Okay.
This is hard to explain, but where the shed roof hits the building on the corner, make sure that your horizontal band hits where the roof intersects the corner of the building, so that you work out, so that you don't end up with a goofy little spot that doesn't look right. I'd work a little bit more on, you got some coved cornices up on the top. I take another look at the shape that you want. The more I look at them, the more it's kind of like they're iffy, but not bad, but I take another look at them. Then you've got a color above the awning that's a tad on the light side. I don't know what you're intending to do, but it needs to be a little bit darker color to give it more and I don't know what your material is on your awning. Do you have any idea in the color? Are you planning on making, what are they made of?
Yeah, so at this point, we're thinking that we would use like a standing seam metal, or it could be a sheet metal. There's a company called Omega that makes a product that fits this bill. The intent would be that it would be consistent with more of a champagne look. So not just a stark silver, just a bit of a more warmth to it than just silver.
You might play with the darker color, or, that could be really nice. On the elevation below, you've got two different materials on that face. Study a more defined transition between the two. I'm not sure how they're gonna work. Either a stone cap or siding trim or depth change or something so that it is more defined. If you know what I mean, the elevation below it's at the west elevation, where you've got stone on the top and wood stone on the bottom, wood on the top. Where
It's the east elevation.
where the two materials come together, you need to define it a little bit better
Okay.
and think about what you want to do.
Okay.
That's about all I have unless I find another note that I put somewhere. Well, that's the extent of it. But it's a pleasant change from the last time.
Good.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I just have a couple comments for you. I think it's a very distinct improvement. My only little bit of concern here is the east elevation. It still feels like that's a very massive structure there in the middle with all that rock and all the veneer and also the wood above it. It seems like that could be looked at a little bit, maybe as well, lightening that up a little bit, maybe reducing some of the stone, something like that. But looking at maybe some awnings, I think you have some kind of a little projection there. But yeah, overall, I think this is a massive improvement. I would like to see more landscaping out the front there if we can get rid of some of that concrete. I know you're working on that, so that's basically my comments. I like the colors that you propose.
Good.
I'll turn it over to members of the public. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this item? Please raise your hand.
Not seeing anybody online.
Okay, thank you very much. Huge improvement. Thank you very much. It was more welcoming. Good luck with Caltrans. With regard to the project as it stays right now, your agenda is for preliminary review. I know that most of the comments were in the detailing, which will come with final approval. So with that said, I'll ask for a motion to grant preliminary approval on this project.
So grant, so moved.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, well, keep it going.
Thank you.
Will do. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, moving on to item number 23, VAR 00125, the Orchid Gateway Retail Center, grocery store. Is the applicant available?
Yep, we're here.
Go ahead and introduce yourself on record and your presentation.
I'm not sure, can you dial *6 if you have muted yourself?
This is Ben Zinger, the planner. They're still here. At least I'm seeing them. I think they may just not have heard your instructions there, Chair.
Oh, okay. Taylor, if you want to go ahead and begin your presentation, introduce yourself.
Oh, sure.
for the record, and
Sure, yeah. I'm I'm Taylor Judkins, the owner and developer of the project. Hopefully we will keep this one pretty short for you. Our presentation is the same as the last hearing. So we received 3 comments on the preliminary approval. One of them had to do with the overall elevation feeling eclectic. But you know, the elevation was in line with what was approved by the Board of Supervisors, so we kept that the same. The second had to do with seeing signage on the elevations, but there's a separate, the sign program went to NBAR as a separate approval. And so in talking with the planners, if signage were to deviate from the approved site plan, then it would, sign plan, then it would come back to NBAR for your review. And then the third comment was on some clerestory windows that we didn't quite understand. And so we are open to either stipulation or condition of approval. You know, the comment was that we make the windows deeper, and that didn't make sense to us, because if you're insetting the windows or you're popping them out for depth, then you're altering the massing of the building, which is already, as the first comment noted, eclectic enough. And so bringing the windows backwards or forwards, which is, you know, depth, doesn't make any sense. If the comment was more about the size of the windows and their height or width, then we're absolutely amenable to changing the size of those windows. Just the depth didn't jive with the project.
yeah, let's move to the elevations. Well, I could
It should be sheet A201.
Yeah, we can zoom into the north elevation.
Well, that comment was mine, and the intent here was to make the windows taller, if that's better for your vernacular. Not deeper, but taller. I refer to that height as depth of the window, but the height of the window needs to be addressed. I think the window's too short. That works for you.
Are you
I
talking
think on the-
about the 2 on the side of this?
How about all 6 windows?
I think the original submittal on that gable had 4 instead of 2, and it looked like, just from memory, and it looks like the signage got wider, so to the windows got the, but that was just from memory.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That is correct.
Yes.
Yes. And so we're totally fine to put those 2 windows back. We're totally fine to make them taller. Not an issue for us.
Okay, appreciate that.
Question, the signage in the center, above the little window, it looks like there's a light fixture there. Is that correct?
The main one in the center, the large white rectangle.
It's a revision
No.
symbol, I think.
Move the cursor over to the left, and just upper, yeah, right there. Is that a light fixture?
That's a revision.
No, it's a keynote for revision.
Okay.
Any other comments for this project? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this item?
I'm not seeing anybody.
You are agendized for final approval. With the comments with regards to the windows.
The also the vent got much smaller,
The vent got smaller.
and the window, and the sign area got much larger.
Yeah.
He said he put the 4 windows back though, right?
Yeah, he's,
And make them taller.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was all 4 for sure, but I think the other windows, the 4 on the perimeter of the main massing were also reduced in height.
so let me ask the board, is that something that you guys want to look at for a full meeting, or is that something we can look at for consent?
Easily on consent.
I think
It's a consent.
That's a height.
Interest.
Well said. So I think what we're gonna do is if you wanna modify the width of the sign, play with the height of the windows and the number, we can take a look at this at the next meeting on a consent type of approval.
Okay, so yeah, so no, we do not have a problem making that from 2 to 4 in the center. Is there any way to just establish the height and the quantity of windows and stipulate it with the approval today?
Well, I think we're not gonna really grant approval today. We will grant it on consent. I think it's a minor enough item. We're not gonna tell you how tall the windows need to be, more the length of the sign. I think that's something that you guys need to decide on your own. Either way, I don't think it's gonna be an issue for us. So if you wanted to go back and make those revisions and then work with your planner to get it agendized for consent, approval on consent. Taylor?
Yeah, I mean, okay. The unfortunate thing is this is the last item holding up our building permit. And so by having to come back for something like this, which was more of a misunderstanding on what the comment was, it delays getting our building permit another month.
This is Robert with G3 on this project as well. That 30 days may not seem like a lot, but it definitely pushes us into weather windows. We are hoping to get undergrounds and slab in before the weather comes. We can lay block in the weather and tent if necessary. But every day it rains, we lose 3 to 4 days in the field because the moisture content in the soil has to be at a level that a slab can go on it.
Okay. Is the staff planner available?
Yeah, this is Ben Singer, planner. I'm available.
What ramifications are there if we were to look at granting final approval with the note that the window sizes and possibly quantity change?
In the sign.
Yeah, if they add more windows, they reduce the sign, so.
As
I mean,
planner of
we're
this
having-
project, if you wanted to, grant approval with that condition, that's something that I can look for before issuing their permit. And Shannon may be able to comment a little bit more on this, but that's something that we have seen before of when it's a very minor change, the board can say approval granted with this requirement to be met, and then that is something that I can look for, and they'll just resubmit plans to me.
Shannon, do you have anything?
We have done that before where the motion includes confirmation by the planner. Ben could even send the plans to the chair for final confirmation. As long as the action said that, you were approving it subject to the planner confirmation.
I understand you don't want to give us a measurement on the height. Are you able to say 25% taller, 30% taller, 100% taller?
I think we'd be able to say that the height would be
Otherwise, we're
more.
throwing darts in the dark.
Well, if you look back to your previous submittal, where you had the 4 windows there, I think that proportion is more appropriate
All right.
in height.
Great.
Do we have that? See?
So, do you still have issue with height?
Not if they go back to this, but if they leave it at that, I do. I don't get one vote, so.
Not anymore. Okay, so, we just took a look at your previous elevation with the 4 windows. We like them. So with that said, I'll ask for a motion to grant final approval and the planners to verify the window configuration is similar to the previous submittal.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
that was Keyside 2 Board of Supervisors approval. Plans.
Yep.
That's.
Okay. So you get that? So I ask for a
I got
motion
that.
to. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, Ben, go ahead and verify that once the plans come back.
Michael,
Understood,
I
yes.
didn't have the motion.
So the motion is to grant final approval pending planner approval on the configuration approved by the Board of Supervisors for the windows and signage.
And it's moved by Chair McGlinty. And then who was the second?
Jim. Sure, that's good.
Jim.
Me.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.